Well, Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark was the leaders of an expedition that explored the Louisiana Purchase. And in, I think, 1802 or 3 or something like that, President Jefferson bought from Napoleon all of the French properties in the Americas. And it included New Orleans and then most of the territory to the west of the Mississippi, which was hundreds and thousands of acres.
Covering
millions, probably millions of acres.
Covering what states?
Well, it's too numerous to name. I mean, all the way to the Canadian border and all the way to the Pacific coast, I believe. I'm not absolutely certain about what's
would it be Nevada and Oregon and California?
No, because those were claimed by Spain.
Okay.
And they did not get the Spanish territories. But everything north of the Spanish properties, so everything north of California, everything north of Nevada, all the way to the Canadian border, and then all the way to the Mississippi River, which is a huge a piece of territory. It more than, I think, tripled the size of the United States.
Okay, so those guys discovered that area, and then they negotiated the purchase of it.
No. President Jefferson had bought it from Napoleon,
and he said
no one had explored it. So Lewis and Clark were appointed by Jefferson to lead an expedition into unknown territory, and they followed the Missouri River all the way up to its source in Montana, then crossed the mountains, and ended up spending the winter right on the coast where we stopped, which was just on the border between Washington and Oregon, just south of the Columbia River. And so it was an amazing story of the expedition, and they had a huge number of adventures, and we're amazingly lucky in many ways to have survived. They only lost one person on the entire trip, and I think there were some 59 or so people that went on the expedition.
Okay, I just want to ask you about one other thing. We're still waiting for those guys, are we? Yeah. Do you remember last year we stopped at a Pony Express type of station?
Yeah.
Could you tell me about what they were for?
The Pony Express was a very short-lived episode in U.S. history, and it was after the gold rush of '49, when a lot of people moved to California from the eastern part of the United States, and the only communications was to sail a ship around the Cape of Good Horn, the Cape of the Horn, all the way up to the other side, which is a huge voyage and took months, or trek overland to St. Louis and then ultimately to the East Coast. But the Pony Express was set up to try and carry correspondence from California back to the eastern states. And they set up a series of relay points as far apart as one horse could run at top speed before they had to stop. And so they would give the saddlebags to a rider, and he would ride to the next station, he would change horses, and then he would ride to the next station, he would change horses, he'd ride to the next station, and then a new rider would take over. And so the Pony Express stations were places where mounts were maintained in order to change the rides, and where some of the riders would stay overnight to relieve the riders that had ridden a long time. And I think it took about 5 or 6 days for them to ride the whole route from San Francisco to St. Louis. So
that's pretty good.
Actually pretty fast compared to several months on the sea voyage.